Okay, hey y'all, I'm gonna be presenting my physics 2 lab 1. So first the introduction. The purpose was to study the effects of positively and negatively charged dipoles, and to do this we used a couple items, a pretty simple Scotch tape, a table, we used a book, and then just like a ruler and some other just measurement objects. And what we were doing is we charged the pieces of tape and observed and measured the results of the interaction between the two pieces of tape and between other objects. And then from there, we were able to approximate the excess charge remaining on the tape. And we were able to do this using Coulomb's law to understand how the charge tape will interact with other items. So overall, in the end, the result was that I had a negative charge with the magnitude of Q equals 8.14 times 10 to the negative 9th coulombs on the piece of tape, meaning that there was an excess of electrons on the tape. So first I wanted to go into some of my expectations. So I knew that the U-tapes would either be attracted or repulsed because based off the background information of the lab, I knew that the U-tape had charge. I just didn't know if it was going to be positive or negative. And then I also had read in the textbook about how skin usually has a salt film over it consisting of positive sodium and negative chloride ions. So I know that the tape should have an effect with the skin. But again, I didn't know if that would be with a positively charged or negatively charged piece of tape. So just overall, my expectation was an attractive or repulsive force. So observing the interactions between the two pieces of tape, we saw that the two U-tapes repelled each other. And then when we brought the U-tape near a neutral item, which I used a book, the U-tape was attracted to the book. So moving on, the next question is, if the U-tape is positively charged, how should it interact with the charged plastic pen? So we know that the plastic pen is negatively charged after running it through hair. And so if the U-tape is positively charged, we know opposites attract and the two objects would attract. The opposite goes for if the tape was negatively charged, we know that like charges repel. Continuing on with the same section, how should the neutral U-tape interact with a charged plastic pen? Again, if the plastic pen is negatively charged, there would still be some attraction with the neutrally charged item, but it just wouldn't be as much attraction as if they were oppositely charged. And then we know that running a pen through hair negatively charges it. And when we brought the pen near the tape was attracted to the pen, meaning that they would have opposite charges. So we can determine that the tape has a positive charge. So next I'll go into the experiment. First thing, we had to understand that momentum wasn't changing, which means that the net Y component of the force of tape B is 0. And this is because these forces are equal but opposite. So next, I found the mass of tape B, which is 0.0002 kilograms roughly. And then we know that there's an electric force on tape A that is going vertically. So that's what's causing tape B to float. Next, these are my calculations. So I found first the magnitude of the gravitational force on tape B, measured the distance between the two objects when they started to show a force between them. And then from there, I was able to determine the charge on tape B and calculate the corresponding number of electrons on tape B. So you can pause this and look through my calculations. And then next, what we did was we wanted to calculate the number of atoms on the sticky surface of the tape. So we found that to be roughly 4 times 10 to the negative 17 atoms. And then I found the ratio of the number of electrons to atoms on the tape. And then for this first part of this part, I had to assume that the surface area of an atom is roughly 1 times 10 to the negative 20th meters. And that's just in order to find the number of atoms on the surface of the piece of tape. So next is my glow script code. Feel free to pause and go through it, but that's what it is, including all of my constants and outputs for the chart. And then next, these are my results. So we have the magnitude of the charge, we have the force due to gravity on tape B, we have the electric force to move tape B, and the electric force on tape B in this vector format. So in conclusion, I had to make a few assumptions. We were ignoring air resistance. We were treating the tape as though it were a point charge with the charge concentrated on the center of mass. We are assuming that each tape that that we were working with had the same amount of charge evenly distributed. And we also had to make that assumption about the surface area of an electron. So the conclusion question is, if electrons had positive charge and protons had negative charge, what would change about the observations you made? And really nothing would change. The results would be the same. Like charges still repel and opposites attract. So this would have no effect on the outcome. And then next, why is it important to handle the charged tapes as little as possible? If you think back about what I said earlier about how like positive and negative ions on the skin can affect a charge. So that's one of the reasons. And then also if a charged object comes in contact with your hands and other objects, then they can be transferring electrons, causing them to become less charged. So yeah, this concludes my presentation. Thank you for listening.